What's up, everybody? My name's Cole. I'm a part-time real estate investor, full-time legacy airline pilot, and a part-time military instructor pilot. Today, I'm going to talk about something that hits real close to home, and that is, what do you do if you lose your job? How do you prepare yourself for something like that? And what did I do to get out of that situation when Uncle COVID came and paid us a visit in 2020? I had a job at a regional airline. That job went from I think sometime in March, they let us know that April 1st of 2020, we are shutting everything down. And I know a lot of people can empathize with that. Before you knew it, I went from being a jet pilot, thinking I was somebody special, thinking I was cool, to literally having no jobs. What did I learn then, and what do I do now to try to adjust the implications of something like that happening in my life? The first thing I did was panic. I had left the post office delivering mail in the city of Milwaukee, and I was flying jets, and I was thinking, like, I might have to go back and do that. A lot of the guys that I had been flying with at the airline told me they were getting jobs like UPS and local retail stores and things like that. And so I was looking at the prospects of going back to delivering mail, and I was terrified at that. So I was a little bit like, man, I took a gamble on my career to try to get things going and get myself onto the next level. Didn't really work out. Now here I am with no job. It's the middle of COVID. Everything's shut down. What do I do? And so I kind of had to sit down and look at the options. And one of the great options I had was I was flying in the military part-time. So I had a unit to go to and ask, if they would bring me in full time. If I didn't have that, I would have been totally screwed because all the guys that had more experience than me at the airline suddenly also didn't have jobs. So any flying jobs that were available, flying cargo, doing things like that, were suddenly snapped up by all those guys. And I was still on the street with no job and dwindling hope. Every minute that went by, I was less and less sure about this whole aviation thing. Looking back on it, I should have had a plan in place beforehand. And I was doing some of the real estate stuff. I had done the single family flip house. I had the 8 unit. So I had something, but it wasn't enough for me to live off of. It wasn't even enough for me to consider like doing part-time work. Like that was not the kind of money that was on the table. So looking back on it now, I wish I would have done more to prepare myself because I wouldn't have had that moment of panic. And thankfully I had somewhere to go, but if I didn't, I would have been totally screwed. So now I've set myself up in life today that I don't have to panic about that. I can rest easy knowing that I have something else to lean back on if both my careers fail. And for me, just like a lot of other jobs, there are little things that could happen that could actually derail your entire career. And for us, it's our medical. If you can't get your medical, then you can't fly. And if you can't fly, then suddenly all your expertise and all your knowledge and everything that you've learned over all the years is suddenly worthless because you can't fly. So what are you going to do? And that's something that's always been scary for me. I'm young enough that I feel like I'm going to be healthy for a while, but you never know what could happen. I always joke that I could go get stabbed in the eye tomorrow. And if I do, my flying career goes to zero. And now I have nothing. So what do you do now? And there's a lot of people out there that are thinking the same thing, not so much because of the medical stuff or because of COVID, but because of AI. Artificial intelligence is on the horizon. It's here. I use it. I'm sure a lot of people do. And there's quantum computing, all these other things that are coming down the pipeline that could take people's careers and take it from a very profitable, lucrative career and destroy it. I think some people are feeling some anxiousness about what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And I think this is when you really want to lean into having some sort of side hustle. For me, it's real estate. That's what I'm going to talk about. That's what I'm going to focus on. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be something in the digital space. There's people that are making videos about eating burgers I just watched a guy eating a chicken sandwich at Culver's. And the whole channel is Joe is Hungry. And literally he's just eating food. And like he made a whole channel out of that. And that's awesome. And that exists. And not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody wants to do that. But there are a lot of other things that you can do. I know people that are working on motorcycles as a side hustle. I know people that have coffee shops. I mean, there's an unlimited amount of things you can do, but you have to do something. And you can choose not to do anything, but then don't complain when AI takes your job and you have nothing. And I know there's going to be lots of people that are complaining about that when that time comes, but you have to start planning for it now because by the time it's here, by the time that you get the notice, like I did at my job to say, hey, April 1st, we're closing down and you are effectively fired. When that happens, it's too late. You don't have enough time to do that because now all the money that you would have allocated and all the time that you would have allocated towards the side hustle is not going to be taken up by trying to pay your bills with no job, by trying to find a new job, by trying to figure out, go back to school, whatever the case may be. You're going to be doing that to try to get yourself back on your feet. And at that point, it may be too challenging to get your side hustle going. So I'm going to focus on real estate, how you can implement that to try to offset the risk in your own job, even if it's not AI. Who knows what it is? The company could go out of business. Those happen all the time. This is what I do. And this is what I would tell you to do if you were my kid. I would tell you to start with a small property, whether it's a single family, duplex, 4-family. That's what I've been focusing on with most of these videos. You don't need $1 million. You don't need 500 units. You don't need anything like that. You need one property. You need to start with one property. You need to learn the business with just one. Maybe that means a flip house. Maybe that means you get a rental right off the bat and you do a house hacking scheme where you're living in one, renting out the other, and you're maybe breaking even, maybe paying a little bit per month. That's where you start. And that's a great place to start because now your monthly expenses are lower and you're able to use that to try to double down on this whole side hustle thing. From that point, I would start looking at, okay, learning the business, obviously, trying to figure out what is the actual monthly expenses on this property. I can sit here and put it in a pro forma, an Excel spreadsheet and say, this is what the expenses are going to be. But what actually happens every month? Is it more? Is it less? Did I do good math? Did I buy a good deal? And start learning that. And from that point, then starting to use what you've learned on the first deal and implement it into the second deal. Obviously, this is a simple progression, but you need to start with one. And if you can get your foot in the door with one while you do have a job, then the risk of not having a job is just slightly lower because now you already have a property. You don't have to go to the bank and explain, well, I had a job, then I lost my job, and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do all that. You already have something going. You got your foot in the door. You got a placeholder. Now when you go back to the bank and try to get a second property, they're going to see your track record with the first. And you're going to be able to use that to leverage into that second building, even if you're having trouble with your job. This may not be applicable to the majority of people, but there's a small portion of people that this will apply to, and you are going to have some troubles. If you can get something going that's your own, that you have a vested interest in succeeding, that's huge because you're not beholden then to a company, to a CEO, to a manager that may not have your best interest in mind. They may not even deserve to be in the position that they're in, and you're dealing with that. So you can get something that's all your own. Every decision that you make is yours. You can own it, whether it's good or bad, and you can grow from there. So if you don't have enough money right now to try to get an FHA loan, which is usually about 3% down, or maybe a VA loan if you're a military veteran, which is 0% down. If you don't have the money and the resources to try to do that right now, then your best bet right now is to get educated, to learn as much as you can about the business because education, for the most part, is free. You can find a lot of paid education, but there's a lot of free education as well. So you can focus on that. And the other thing you can do is try to save money as fast as you can, as best you can. If you can do a little bit of flipping or whatever to try to make a little bit of money and start stashing it away, that's what I'd recommend you doing. Because everyone talks about Armageddon and how the world's falling apart. All these major events in society are happening. People are talking about them, but what are you actually doing to try to hedge your bets against them? And I think there's a lot of people that are doing nothing to do that. And if you're one of those people, I implore you to try to change your thought process with that and try to set yourself up for what may be coming. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to get things going. Right now, I've got kind of a self-sustaining machine. One building's paying for another building. I'm using cash flow off these buildings to buy more buildings. So now it's starting to hit escape velocity, but I'm still very small in a very big pond. I want to do more. I want to do it bigger, better, faster, all that stuff. But at this point, I know that if I lose my job tomorrow, I'm still going to be able to find a way to survive. I have enough properties that I can sell and refinance and trade up to other properties to try to get through that period of time until I can get back on my feet. If you're not in that situation and you're feeling anxiety about that, then you're in the right channel. I'm going to continue to talk about practical advice that people can use to try to get their foot in the door with real estate. I'm not going to talk about other side hustles because I don't even know what I'm doing. If by some miracle you're watching this video, then it was basically pure luck. At the end of the day, I'm not quitting my job flying tomorrow. I'm not expecting to lose my job in either case with the military or with the airline, but I am prepared if I do. And I'm very, very thankful that I did things 5-10 years ago to set myself up for today. And that's something I want you to keep in mind. This is a long, slow game, but it's a game that's very lucrative once you get going. You just have to start. And starting is always the hardest thing for most people to do. It's been hard for me in my lifetime to do it as well. So I implore you to take the steps necessary to get yourself prepared for what may be coming. And this isn't fear mongering. This is just the real life. I lost my job. I'm sure I could lose my job again. Maybe I will. So I'm ready to go. Hopefully you'll get yourself closer to that goal. If you're watching this video, I truly appreciate it. Like I've said in the last couple of videos, if you're watching this, you could be anywhere on the internet doing anything right now, but you're sitting here watching to me, and I don't take that lightly. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm going to continue to try to put out better and better content. I'm learning the game as I go. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.